You know what's really interesting? There are tons of chart analysts who think XRP is going to perform way more like it did back in 2017, that was 2 market cycles ago, rather than how it did in the last cycle around 2021. And honestly, even if you're not into charts, I'm definitely not. This actually makes a lot of sense because XRP was getting hammered by the US government and the SEC during that last cycle. But that whole mess is behind us now. The SEC's attack totally failed, and the war on crypto, it's done. Sure, there might be some appeal stuff to wrap up, but XRP is completely in the clear now. Everything's looking good. Here's the crazy part. XRP was literally the only top 10 coin that didn't hit a new all-time high last cycle. The only one. It's been held back artificially this whole time. Doesn't that seem like a pretty bullish sign? I mean, XRP is sitting at number 3 in market cap right now, and it feels like the world is just starting to catch up. So what happens next? I honestly won't be shocked if we look back at the end of this market cycle and think, yeah, that looked way more like 2017 all over again. And here's what makes this so exciting. Those percentage gains back in 2017, that was hands down the craziest time you could have been holding XRP. But I honestly think we're about to make that look small. And now I'm not talking about beating those exact percentage numbers, but in terms of actually building real life-changing money compared to what happened last time, this is going to be huge. That's where I'm putting my money, so to speak. I stay away from specific price calls. I'm cool with discussing what seems realistic, but you won't catch me throwing out exact numbers. What I will say is this. Whatever's about to happen is going to make a few years ago look tiny. It's just logical at this point, isn't it? Tell me I'm not the only one thinking this way. And get this, these chart analysts aren't just focusing on how XRP got beat up during the last cycle, which totally happened. They're also seeing all these technical signals that scream 2017 vibes. And wow, 2017 was absolutely nuts. Here's something wild to consider. XRP wasn't just doing well that cycle. It was the number 1 performer, the best coin in all of crypto that entire run. So here's where it gets really interesting. And I'm actually going to show you a couple of these analysts in this video. There are 2 XRP chart guys who are breaking down why, if this cycle plays out anything like 2017 did, we could be looking at XRP hitting the 20s. One of them is calling $27, and there's this other analyst, I'll dive deeper into his take later, who's thinking more like $24. Now look, I have no clue if we'll actually hit those numbers, but honestly, none of that sounds crazy to me anymore. I genuinely think XRP is going to be worth an absolute fortune compared to where we're sitting today. But before I get too carried away here, let me be super clear about something. I don't have any kind of financial background whatsoever. I'm not your financial advisor, and you definitely shouldn't be buying or selling anything just because of what I'm saying. Right now, as I'm talking, XRP is sitting at $3.20 and Bitcoin's at $118,279. We're kind of moving sideways at the moment, but honestly, we're not going to be stuck here much longer. That's pretty much what every single analyst I follow keeps saying. And here's the thing. We don't need to worry about getting blindsided by the cycle peaking right here. We're not at that point yet. Check out this post from chart analyst CW. Look at this screen full of stuff. There are 30 different indicators here that are supposed to help you spot when the bull market peaks so you can sell at the top. Now here's the thing. You and I don't need to become experts on all 30 of these peak indicators. We really don't need that level of detail. What I'll do is keep an eye on these, and when they start lighting up or getting close, I'll point them out to you. You don't need to memorize every single one of these things, but there are definitely some key signals worth knowing about. I mean, there's so much you can track, like when the big whale wallets start dumping their coins. Since Bitcoin runs on a public blockchain, you can actually see when that's happening in real time. And here's what history tells us. When you hit that market peak and you start seeing the long-term holders and whales dumping their bags while prices are still climbing, that's usually your warning sign that we're getting close to the end. That's just one signal, though. There are tons of these different indicators you can see on the screen. Look, you don't want to get blindsided here. You absolutely want to know when we're getting dangerously close to the cycle peak so you can make whatever moves feel right for you, whether that's buying more, selling some, or just holding tight. And here's what I'm telling you right now. We are nowhere near danger territory according to any of these signals. We've literally never had a bull run just end without these things going off first. So the best stuff is still coming. I know it feels crazy seeing Bitcoin hanging out at $118,000 and XRP just chilling comfortably above $3.20, but all of this is happening and we're still not even close to the end of this market cycle. Now, time-wise, yeah, we've probably burned through most of the cycle already. I mean, that's pretty obvious at this point. But when it comes to the really exciting price action that's still coming, oh man, we haven't even gotten started. I'm telling you, the absolute best part, that final 5 to 10% of a market cycle, that's where things get completely wild, and that's where people make their biggest gains. We haven't hit that stage yet, but don't worry, I'll be all over it when we start getting close. So CW posted something interesting. He said there's no signal pointing to a bull market peak right now. The bull market is just getting started. And I think what he means is the crazy euphoric part of it. Obviously, we've technically been in a bull market for years now. But anyway, he goes on to say that over time, these indicators will start flashing red one by one. So you can basically watch them and figure out for yourself when it makes sense to take some profits, if that's what you want to do. Check out this post from the blockchain backer from July 11th. He's showing us some really interesting stuff here. So he's got a few different Bitcoin charts from different time periods. The one on the left is what we had going up to that point in 2025. Then there's this middle chart. It's not labeled with years at the bottom, but this has got to be from 2017. I mean, there's no other way that pattern makes sense. And he's pointing out how similar the structure looks between them. His take, he says his best guess right now is that Bitcoin is probably going to do some kind of backtest at some point, and then after that, boom, we get that crazy euphoric parabolic run-up. And folks, that's exactly what's coming next. He mentions that how altcoins are going to react during that pullback is still kind of a mystery, or maybe they'll just keep pumping until we hit that point. But then he drops this. Parabola, fun. So yeah, it's definitely coming. You can see he's basically expecting we're going to watch that previous cycle pattern play out all over again. And get this, just the other day, he reposted that same chart and simply said, getting there. This is his updated comparison to 2017, and looking at where we are on the left side right now, we are super close to that final parabolic explosion. It's coming, people. As far as I'm concerned, that's pretty much a done deal at this point. Here's what chart analyst Crypto Wizard just posted. He's saying, beautifully respected jumping off the mountain. The 4.5-year trend line in Bitcoin dominance was as strong as steel, having rejected the last line of defense. Bulls will gather strength, lower to go, which means higher for your bags. And man, he's spot on with this. What we're looking at is Bitcoin's market cap dominance chart, and he's pointing out how it's playing perfectly off that trend line. It's bouncing right off and dropping hard. This whole chart is about to crater. We're talking Bitcoin dominance is going to nosedive way more dramatically than what we're seeing right now. And honestly, you can already feel it happening. Look at this. This is the real deal right here. Now, obviously, while this is happening, Bitcoin's price can still go up, and I totally expect it will during that final parabolic run. But you're going to see altcoins absolutely smoke it in terms of gains. Like I've been saying forever, and honestly, this should be obvious to anyone paying attention. If you want life-changing money in crypto right now, Bitcoin isn't where it's at. It's in altcoins like XRP, duh. This is actually happening right now. It's the same thing that's played out every single cycle before this one. When you get close to the end of the cycle, altcoins just go absolutely nuts. And here we are again. This is fantastic news for those of us holding altcoins, and especially for us XRP holders. Check out this post from chart analyst Mustache. He's looking at the crypto total market cap chart here, and he says, looks like the total market cap chart wants to rip upwards. Not like in 2021, folks, but like in 2017. He goes on, best parabolic phase in 8 years is imminent, in my opinion. And that was when altcoins went absolutely insane. He's totally right about that. They went completely buck wild back in 2017. Here's what I find so fascinating, though. You've got XRP chart analysts, and I'll show you in just a minute, saying this setup looks way more like 2017 for XRP specifically. And at the exact same time, you've got guys like this saying the entire market cycle feels more like 2017. Folks, I'm telling you, I've got this strong feeling that things are about to get absolutely wild, and I think a bunch of us are going to make some serious money because of it. This stuff really does happen. Don't go into this with some defeated mindset. Don't sit there thinking, oh, but it could never happen for me. Yes, it can. Of course it can. If you're smart about this and don't screw it up, meaning you don't chase pumps, you don't sell when you're scared, you just make solid decisions, And if you've got decent exposure to crypto, including XRP, then this opportunity is totally legit. This isn't some fantasy I'm selling you. And yeah, you absolutely can pull this off. Stop thinking like you're already out of the game. This can definitely happen for regular people like us. I'm not some crypto genius or anything. I'm figuring this out as I go. And honestly, all I've done is stick to these basic things I always talk about. I got some skin in the game. XRP ended up being my biggest single crypto bet, and I'm super glad about that. Then I just bought and held on to it. That's the whole strategy. It genuinely works. It's not like I cracked some impossible code that you can't understand. It's not like you're missing some insider knowledge. You either commit to making this happen and follow through, or you don't. It really comes down to that choice. Check out this post from chart analyst Bark. He says, "This is your last chance to buy XRP before the next mega pump. You've been warned." And he just shared this the other day. And honestly, he's probably right about that. I've got a really strong feeling here. Look, when people would post stuff like this during those brutal bear market days, I'd just roll my eyes. But right now, this is actually the time when it makes sense to say something like that. I mean, just look at how insanely strong XRP has been, especially compared to other coins in the top 100. This thing is nowhere near finished, and it's about to go on another massive run. We're not done here. Not even close. Here's what chart analyst Chart Nerd just posted, and it's pretty wild. He says, "When talking XRP, history doesn't have to repeat itself, but it sure does rhyme." So get this, back in 2017, XRP's 1.618 fib level hit 36 cents. Now here we are in 2025, 2 full cycles later, and he's saying XRP's 1.618 fib for this cycle, $27. Then he drops this line, "Not an if, but a when." He's completely convinced this is happening. And you know what? He might be totally right about it. I honestly have no clue. Look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I know exactly how high XRP is going to run this cycle. But $27? That doesn't sound insane to me. It's definitely possible. That's genuinely how I feel about it. Could I be wrong? Absolutely, I just don't have a crystal ball for the exact price. But do I think that number is completely unrealistic? Not at all. I really don't. Check out this post from chart analyst Greg Crypto. He's talking about XRP insights on 21 EMA and 55 SMA bulls across $9 or $24. Then he breaks it down. Let's examine what has happened in the past with the 21 EMA and 55 SMA on the weekly time frame. So in March 2017, we got a bullish crossover that led to this absolutely insane 40,000% pump all the way to the cycle top. Then in August 2020, we saw another bullish crossover and XRP shot up around 750% before hitting its cycle peak. Now, folks, just think about that for a second. 750% gains. And this was happening even though, obviously XRP wasn't under attack yet in August 2020. That whole SEC mess didn't start until December, but we basically got screwed out of the last cycle, right? Even with all that chaos, it still managed to run that high. Just looking at last cycle alone, XRP bottomed out at around 10 cents and ran all the way up to $2. That's a 20x gain while it was literally getting hammered by the SEC. That's absolutely mind-blowing. And get this, XRP never even dropped out of the top 10 coins by market cap during all of that chaos. It's just so obvious that XRP is a total winner. When you put it in an environment where it's actually got a fair shot, XRP just crushes it. It really does. It just makes complete sense when you think about it. Then he mentions, while there was a mini pump in April 2023, I won't factor that into my analysis. Now, in this current cycle, as of October 2024, we've got another promising bullish cross between the 21 EMA and the 55 SMA. And so far, we're looking at a 560% pump already. Then he gets into future projections and says, let's make some assumptions. If we achieve 10% of the 2017 cycle pump, that could mean a 4,000% increase. Just think about that for a second. Way lower percentage-wise, which honestly I think is pretty realistic. I don't think we're ever going to see another cycle where XRP goes up by those crazy percentages again, because the more money that pours into this thing, the more has to keep flowing in to get those crazy doubles, triples, and quadruples of the asset price. But that doesn't mean you can't still see wild dollar increases and some pretty insane percentage gains too. So again, he's saying if we hit just 10% of what happened in 2017, we're looking at a 4,000% increase. And if we double what happened in the 2020 cycle, which was definitely one of the weaker runs for sure, we could see a 1,500% rise. You know what that actually means, right? Think about this for a second. If we're talking about that 1,500% rise, we're already looking at $9. But if it's that 4,000%, which honestly isn't even crazy, folks, that puts us at 24 XRP. That is totally realistic. We'll see if it actually plays out that way, but it's not unreasonable at all to think this could happen. It's absolutely not unreasonable to speculate about numbers like that. Check out this post from chart analyst Galaxy. He says, time to look at XRP. Just a few days ago, we broke all-time highs, and now we are testing the support. Next time it breaks $3.30, the real party starts. So we're sitting just a little below that right now, at $3.20 when I'm filming this. But we're not going to be stuck here much longer, folks. Like I was saying before, people didn't want XRP when it was 49 cents, and the same thing's happening now. I mean, it's getting some attention right now, don't get me wrong, but compared to what's going to happen when we hit the cycle peak, it's safe to say that, relatively speaking, nobody really wants XRP at $3.20 right now. But man, they're sure going to want it if the price hits $10 because then they'll feel like it's safe. That's just how people's brains work. It's completely backwards, but that's human psychology for you. The higher the price goes, the more it's pumping, the safer people feel about buying it. When they don't feel safe buying it, that's exactly when it would have been way smarter for them to grab it at cheaper prices. This is just what always happens. So if we do hit those crazy prices, it's going to be one of those situations where money just attracts more money and then the whole thing just takes off. People start chasing those big green candles. That's exactly what's going to happen. Check out this post from chart analyst XRpunky. A few days back, he was wondering if we could actually see 4 to 5 XRP by the end of the week. And unless something absolutely wild happens on a Sunday, which I'm definitely not betting on, it's not going to be this week. But it could happen really soon, and I think that's totally fair to think about. So here's what he posted. Instead of getting a $4 to $5 this weekend, we had a healthy correction, tapped into the red zone, which previously acted as resistance. Now that XRP has turned that into a support level, let's hope we can get to $4 to $5 by the end of July. Doubt we could do $8, but again, who knows? And yeah, that's the thing. When XRP decides to move, it just absolutely flies. It happens super fast. So none of this stuff is crazy to think about, but it's also true. Like I always say, there isn't a single analyst on the planet who can nail the timing consistently. But given where we are right now, I don't think it's nuts to ask these questions. Like, hey, it might actually happen. I still don't think that's crazy to speculate about. Yeah, one day you're just going to wake up and boom, there's 4 XRP staring you in the face. Then next thing you know, it's $5. That's just how bull runs work. And XRP? It absolutely shocks people every single time. It's totally normal for this thing to just sit there doing nothing for what feels like forever, but then when it decides to move, when it goes, it just absolutely explodes. You've seen it happen every previous market cycle. And this one's no different. Just think about what went down in November. Think about January. Think about what happened just a few days ago. It just took off like a rocket and it's nowhere near finished. We're going to see way more of this exact same XRP behavior before this whole thing wraps up. Check out this post from Chart Animal Zoom. He says, XRP next stop, $3.80 to $4 zone. Thin books all the way up to that zone should move to that zone relatively quick once bulls find momentum. Highly likely to take place within the next 2 weeks. Okay, so he's not making any guarantees here. He's just saying, based on what he's seeing, you could absolutely hit that $4 zone within the next couple of weeks. Not crazy at all. We'll see if it actually plays out that way, but I still think it's going to be sooner rather than later. And there are tons of reasons why, but yeah, we're getting there. Here's what Chart Analyst Zoom just posted. He says XRP's next target is $4.45. And I keep seeing this exact same thing from literally every chart analyst who talks about XRP. It's really not normal to have this many analysts all saying the same or similar stuff about one coin. But when that does happen, they're almost always spot on. And they're all saying this. They really are. So I don't know, man. I just think this thing is about to go absolutely nuts. You're just going to wake up one morning and it's going to be ripping again. We've already had multiple days like that over the past year. And it's not finished, folks. Not even close. The best stuff is still coming. Just remember, I'm not a financial advisor. You definitely shouldn't buy or sell anything just because of what I'm saying here.